January 21st, 1793. Place de la Revolution, Paris. A blade falls. King Louis XVI, direct descendant of Hugh Capet, whose bloodline ruled France for 841 years, through 40 kings across 3 dynasties, dies on the guillotine. Behind him 8 centuries of unbroken succession, 987 to 1792. 33 generations. The longest continuous royal dynasty in European history. But beneath the crown jewels and palace corridors lay a mathematical impossibility, a system that demanded infinite growth on finite resources. How does a family that survived crusades, plagues, and civil wars collapse in less than 5 years? Stand in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles today. 17 arched windows, 357 mirrors. Sunlight refracts into infinite golden reflections. This is the physical manifestation of Capet ambition, a family that transformed a fragmented medieval territory into the dominant power of continental Europe. The numbers tell a story of staggering accumulation. By 1789, the French crown directly controlled 270,000 square kilometers. The royal household employed 4,000 people at Versailles alone. The palace contained 2,300 rooms. Annual operating costs exceeded 25 million livres, roughly $300 million in today's currency. 6,000 courtiers orbited the king, their lives synchronized to his daily rituals. But that's just the surface. The Capets didn't merely rule France, they engineered it. Through strategic marriages, they absorbed Champagne, Toulouse, Burgundy, and Normandy into the royal domain. Through careful diplomacy, they placed family members on thrones across Europe. By the 1700s, Capet descendants wore crowns in Spain, Naples, Parma, and Luxembourg. They weren't just a dynasty. They were a continental network of power. Walk through the royal apartments. Gold leaf covers nearly every surface. Paintings by Rubens and Lebrun line the walls. The chapel ceiling soars 60 stories. The king's bedroom sat at the exact center of the palace, aligned with the rising sun, a deliberate architectural statement. Louis XIV didn't just live here. He performed monarchy. But beneath this beauty, an arithmetic time bomb ticked. Every mirror required cleaning. Every chandelier needed candles. Every garden demanded hundreds of groundskeepers. Every courtier expected pensions, positions, and privileges. The palace sat on a foundation of debt that grew faster than tax revenues could service it. Stand in that hall of mirrors and imagine. January 1789. The crown owes 4 billion livres, more than twice annual tax collection. Interest payments alone consume half the national budget. The finance minister has just informed Louis XVI that the monarchy will default within months without radical reform. Outside Paris, bread prices have doubled. Peasants starve while Versailles burns through 6,000 candles nightly. The Capets had survived 8 centuries by adapting, absorbing new territories, centralizing power, eliminating rivals. But they built a system that required perpetual expansion in a world of finite resources. The greatest dynasty in European history had engineered its own collapse. How did this happen? How does a family that produced kings, saints, and empire builders end at a guillotine blade? The answer begins not in revolution, but in a quiet church ceremony 806 years earlier. July 3, 987, Senlis, north of Paris, a council of nobles gathers in a stone church. The Carolingian dynasty Charlemagne's line has finally exhausted itself. The last king died without clear heirs. France fractures into competing duchies. Civil war looms. Then Hugh Capet, Duke of the Franks, makes his move. He wasn't the most powerful noble. He didn't control the largest territory. But he controlled something more valuable: geography. His lands surrounded Paris. He held the symbolic heart of Francia. When the Archbishop of Reims crowned him that summer day, Hugh established a principle that would define European monarchy for centuries. Elective kingship could become hereditary if you moved fast enough. His genius wasn't military conquest. It was institutional engineering. Within months, Hugh crowned his son Robert as co-king. Unprecedented, brilliant. By making succession automatic during his lifetime, he bypassed noble opposition. When Hugh died 9 years later, Robert simply continued ruling. No election, no contest. The Capets had transformed French monarchy from elected position to inherited property. But Hugh understood something deeper. He knew that power in medieval France wasn't about controlling everything, it was about controlling enough. His royal domain barely exceeded the Île-de-France region around Paris. Powerful dukes in Normandy, Aquitaine, and Burgundy commanded larger armies. Hugh didn't fight them. He made himself indispensable. Picture the strategy. A duke rebels in the south. Hugh mediates. Two lords dispute a border. Hugh arbitrates. A succession crisis emerges. Hugh intervenes. Slowly, methodically, the Capets positioned themselves as the permanent arbiters of French politics. They didn't conquer the kingdom. They became the kingdom's central nervous system. Philip Augustus, crowned in 1180, perfected the model. He inherited a royal domain smaller than England's Norman holdings in France. Humiliating, unacceptable. Philip spent 30 years systematically acquiring territory through purchase, marriage, inheritance, and when necessary, war. When he died in 1223, the royal domain had quadrupled. His grandson Louis IX added something revolutionary: moral legitimacy. Louis didn't just rule, he became a saint. He washed lepers' feet, dispensed justice under an oak tree, allied 2 crusades, died of dysentery in Tunisia in 1270, praying. The church canonized him 27 years later. Suddenly, the Capets weren't just politically powerful, they were divinely ordained. Opposition to the king became opposition to God's will. The architecture of Capet power had 3 foundations: hereditary succession, territorial expansion, and sacred authority. Each generation added another stone to the edifice. Philip IV, Philip the Fair, took the system to its logical extreme. When Pope Boniface VIII challenged royal authority in 1303, Philip had him arrested. When the Knights Templars' wealth tempted him, he dissolved the order and seized their assets. When he needed money, he debased the coinage. Philip understood that monarchy wasn't about tradition, it was about control. By the time his grandson Philip VI ascended in 1328, the Capet system seemed invincible. The dynasty had survived for 341 years without a single succession crisis. They had absorbed most of modern France into the royal domain. They had subordinated the church to royal authority. They had built an administrative apparatus that collected taxes, raised armies, and enforced laws across the kingdom. They didn't know it yet, but they'd also built a trap. Every increase in royal power created expectations. Subjects expected the king to protect them, to deliver justice, to win wars, to maintain prosperity. Every expansion of the royal domain added administrative costs. Every assertion of divine right raised the stakes of failure. The Capets had transformed monarchy into a performance that demanded perfection. And perfection is expensive. The annual operating costs of the French court increased exponentially. 1,300, 200,000 livres. 1,400, 800,000 livres. 1,500, 2 million livres. 1,600, 12 million livres. 1,700, 25 million livres. The machinery of absolute monarchy consumed resources faster than the economy could generate them. Behind closed doors, the bills were piling up like snowdrift. The numbers tell a story the paintings never captured. Consider the daily reality of Versailles in 1780. To maintain the palace required 324 gamekeepers in the royal forests, 47 musicians in the chapel, 498 servants in the household staff, 183 guardsmen, 75 medical personnel, 2,000 horses in the royal stables. Each horse consumed 20 pounds of hay daily. Simple arithmetic, 40,000 pounds of hay per day. Every day, forever. The king's wardrobe department employed 43 people. Louis XVI owned 365 coats. His wife, Marie Antoinette, commissioned 173 dresses in 1784 alone. Each dress required weeks of labor from seamstresses, embroiderers, and lace makers. The fabric came from royal manufactories that operated at a loss, subsidized by the crown to maintain French prestige. Dig deeper into the archives. The royal household accounts for 1788 reveal the granular reality of absolute monarchy. Candles, 320,000 livres annually. Firewood, 180,000 livres. Wine cellars, 400,000 livres. Pensions to courtiers, 4 million livres. Salaries to administrators, 6 million livres. Military expenses, 165 million livres. Debt service, 318 million livres. Total annual spending, 629 million livres. Total annual revenue, 503 million livres. Deficit, 126 million livres every single year. The arithmetic turned brutal. France's economy grew at roughly 1% annually. The national debt grew at 8%. This wasn't sustainable. This was mathematical suicide stretched across decades. But the costs extended beyond mere numbers. Behind the palace walls, an invisible army labored. Chambermaids rose at 4 a.m. to light fires before nobles woke. Kitchen staff prepared 200-course banquets that required coordinating deliveries from across France. Laundresses scrubbed linens by hand. Stable boys hauled manure. Gardeners maintained geometric perfection across 2,000 acres. These workers earned subsistence wages. A kitchen assistant made 150 livres annually less than the cost of a single court dress. A chambermaid might earn 200 livres. Meanwhile, a duke's annual pension could exceed 100,000 livres for doing nothing but existing near the king. The social mathematics became grotesque. France had approximately 28 million people in 1789. The first estate clergy numbered 130,000 and paid no taxes. The second estate nobility numbered 400,000 and paid minimal taxes. The third estate, everyone else, numbered 27.5 million and bore the full tax burden. Picture the provincial reality. A peasant family farming 10 acres near Lyon paid the taille, direct tax on commoners, the gabelle, salt tax, the vingtieme, income tax, the corvée, forced labor, plus tithe to the church, plus feudal dues to the local lord. Combined taxation consumed 40 to 50% of income. The family ate coarse bread and rarely saw meat. Meanwhile, at Versailles, the king's daily rituals demanded 200 people in attendance. The lever, the king's morning rising, was a ceremonial performance. The grand couvert, the king's public dinner, attracted crowds of spectators. Monarchy had become theater, and theater is expensive. The intellectual elite noticed. Voltaire calculated the costs. Rousseau questioned the legitimacy. The physiocrats proposed economic reforms, but reform threatened the entire system. Consider the structural impossibility. The crown needed more revenue, but raising taxes on commoners risked rebellion. They were already at breaking point. Taxing nobles and clergy required convening the Estates General, which hadn't met since 1614. Doing so would acknowledge limits to royal power. The monarchy was trapped between bankruptcy and political suicide. Louis XVI understood the problem. He appointed reformist finance ministers, Turgot, Necker, Colonna, Brienne. Each proposed variations on the same solution: reduce spending, eliminate some exemptions, rationalize taxation. Each encountered the same resistance. The nobility refused to pay. The parliaments blocked reforms. The court insisted on maintaining appearances. In 1787, Finance Minister Colonna laid out the mathematics before an assembly of notables. Annual deficit, 112 million livres. Total debt, 4 billion livres. Debt service, 318 million livres, more than half the budget consumed paying interest. He proposed a universal land tax including on noble estates. The nobility rejected it unanimously. By spring 1789, the crown couldn't borrow more money. Tax collection had plateaued. Military expenses continued rising. The king faced a choice: default on debt or summon the Estates General and hope for cooperation. Louis XVI, descendant of 33 generations of Capets who had built France through careful accumulation of power, chose to ask for help. He couldn't know it yet, but he'd just initiated the countdown to his dynasty's extinction. Outside Paris, bread prices had doubled. Inside Versailles, the chandeliers still burned 6,000 candles nightly. The mathematics had finally caught up with the monarchy. May 5, 1789, the Estates General convenes at Versailles. 1,200 delegates packed the Menus Plaisirs Hall. The clergy in black robes, the nobility in silk and gold. The Third Estate in simple black suits, a deliberate contrast. This assembly hasn't met in 175 years. Louis XVI expects obedience. He will get revolution. The mathematics of representation immediately exposed the system's fatal flaw. The First Estate, 291 delegates representing 130,000 clergy. The Second Estate, 270 delegates representing 400,000 nobles. The Third Estate, 578 delegates representing 27.5 million commoners. Each estate received one vote. The Third Estate did the arithmetic. They represented 98% of France but controlled 33% of the votes. Unacceptable. On June 17th, they declared themselves the National Assembly representatives, not of an estate, but of the nation itself. On June 20th, locked out of their meeting hall, they gathered in a tennis court and swore not to disband until France had a constitution. Louis XVI could have crushed them. He commanded the army. But he hesitated. Paralyzed between his grandfather Louis XV's absolutism and Enlightenment ideals of reform, he wavered. On June 27th, he ordered the other estates to join the National Assembly. The monarchy had just acknowledged limits to royal power. The principle Hugh Capet established in 987 that kings ruled by hereditary right had cracked. Then came July. Paris erupted. Bread prices hit crisis levels. Rumors spread that the king planned to dissolve the assembly by force. On July 14th, a mob stormed the Bastille fortress, seeking weapons and gunpowder. The commandant surrendered. The crowd murdered him anyway, parading his head through the streets on a pike. The revolution had found its symbol and its method. In August, the assembly abolished feudalism overnight. 8 centuries of noble privilege eliminated by decree. The tithe to the church abolished. Feudal dues abolished. Tax exemptions abolished. The social architecture that supported the monarchy dissolved in weeks. Louis XVI signed the decrees. What choice did he have? By October, a mob of market women marched on Versailles, demanding bread. They invaded the palace, murdered guards, and forced the royal family to return to Paris. The Sun King's grandson became a prisoner in the Tuileries Palace. But the financial crisis continued. Abolishing feudalism didn't generate revenue. The Assembly's solution: seize church property. In November 1789, they nationalized all church lands, roughly 10% of France's territory. They issued assignats paper currency backed by this land. Revolutionary arithmetic: we'll sell the church estates and use the proceeds to pay the debt. It failed spectacularly. The assignats depreciated immediately. The government printed more. Hyperinflation set in. By 1794, paper money had lost 90% of its value. The revolution solved the Capet's financial crisis, by destroying the entire monetary system. Meanwhile, Louis XVI plotted escape. On June 20, 1791, the royal family fled Paris disguised as servants. They made it 50 miles to Varennes before being recognized. A postmaster identified the king's face from currency. They were dragged back to Paris in humiliation. The sacred monarchy, the divine right Hugh Capet's descendants had cultivated for 800 years, became a pathetic spectacle. The Assembly drafted a constitution establishing constitutional monarchy. Louis XVI accepted it in September 1791. France would be a kingdom with elected legislature. The Capets would survive, diminished but intact. For 14 months, the compromise held. Then Europe intervened. Austria and Prussia issued the Brunswick Manifesto, threatening Paris with destruction if the royal family suffered harm. Catastrophic miscalculation. The manifesto proved to radicals that Louis XVI conspired with foreign powers against France. On August 10, 1792, militants stormed the Tuileries Palace. The Swiss Guard died defending the king. The royal family fled to the Assembly for protection. The Assembly suspended the monarchy. On September 21, 1792, they abolished it entirely. France became a republic. The Capet Dynasty 987 to 1792 ended not with battles, but with a vote. 805 years of accumulated power, dissolved by legislative decree. But the revolutionaries faced a problem. What to do with Louis XVI? As king, he embodied divine authority. As citizen, he was merely Louis Capet, one man. The radicals wanted him dead. The moderates feared martyrdom. The convention debated for weeks. The mathematics of death became political. They voted. Is the king guilty of treason? Yes, 693 to 0. Should there be a popular referendum? No, 424 to 283. What punishment? Death, 361 to 360. One vote margin. On January 21, 1793, Louis XVI mounted the scaffold in the Place de la Révolution. He attempted a speech. The drums drowned him out. The blade fell. The crowd cheered. They dipped handkerchiefs in royal blood, souvenirs of the Ancien Regime's end. 9 months later, Marie Antoinette followed her husband to the guillotine. Their son, Louis XVII, died in prison at age 10, probably of tuberculosis and neglect. Their daughter survived but lived in exile. The Capets' 40 kings, 3 dynasties, 841 years, extinct in 5 years of revolution. How did it happen so fast? Today, walk through the Palace of Versailles. 4 million visitors annually. The Hall of Mirrors gleams. The gardens extend in geometric perfection. But the palace is a museum now, a monument to a system that couldn't sustain itself. The Capet collapse wasn't accidental, it was structural. They built a monarchy that required infinite resources in a finite world. Every generation expanded the apparatus of state, increased royal expenditure, and raised expectations of what kingship should deliver. The system worked as long as the economy grew faster than costs. When it didn't, the arithmetic killed them. Consider the broader pattern. The Capets weren't unique. The Spanish Habsburgs defaulted on debt 7 times before losing their empire. The Russian Romanovs collapsed under similar fiscal and social pressures in 1917. The British monarchy survived by accepting constitutional limits, becoming ceremonial precisely to avoid revolution. The Capets refused adaptation and died for it. But their legacy endures in unexpected ways. The French legal code standardized under Capet administration influenced legal systems worldwide. The concept of the nation-state, emerging from Capet territorial consolidation, shaped modern politics. The revolution they inadvertently triggered exported ideals of citizenship, equality, and popular sovereignty across continents. Stand in that hall of mirrors today, contemplate the paradox. The Capets built magnificently. They created administrative innovations that modernized governance. They patronized art, architecture, and culture that defined European civilization. They transformed a fragmented medieval territory into a unified nation. But they also built a trap. They created a system where power and privilege concentrated upward while costs distributed downward. They engineered social mathematics that guaranteed eventual collapse. When crisis came, the very magnificence they'd constructed, Versailles, the court, the ritual, became evidence against them. Beauty as burden. Glory as guilt. The greatest dynasty in European history fell because they confused symbols with substance, ritual with governance, magnificence with sustainability. Today, the palace endures. The dynasty does not. The mirrors still reflect sunlight, but the faces they reflect are tourists, not courtiers. The bills are paid by entrance fees, not taxes extracted from starving peasants. 7 crowns, 1 collapse. 8 centuries compressed into 5 years of revolution. History's most expensive lesson in mathematics.